Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay. We got Jacob in Wisconsin here to talk Packers, and more specifically Packers training camp. Got a lot of stuff to dive into. I know the chat's already filling in. Tonight, guys, we're going to hit on the offensive side of the details that we gained from Packers training camp earlier today, which Tim was right there, boots on the ground. We'll also hit the defensive side of the ball, just get you all the updates that you need to be aware of. And then we'll have a little discussion about the new uniforms that were unveiled today, which I'm really, really excited about. We kind of called that with the leather helmets, kind of piggybacking off what Illinois did last year in the college football season. But before we do that, if you guys would do that YouTube stuff when we hit like, hit subscribe. If you're new here to PTA, welcome into Packers Total Access. We appreciate you making us a part of your evening. We're not experts here. We're not insiders. What we are, we're fans just like you here talking Packers on the daily. We go live every single day, in some cases multiple times a day. You don't believe me? Ask my wife. She's still mad about it. We also do pregame shows, postgame shows, film breakdown, the whole 9 yards. So if you're looking for Packer content on the daily, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Gents, how y'all doing? Y'all ready to dive into these training camp updates?
You know it. Ready to go.
I think Jacob's on a little bit of a delay, I believe. Or he froze. Yeah, a little bit of delay. Maybe to settle in, Jacob. Just take your time, man. It's all good. It'll work. We'll get it going here in a minute. All right, let's dive into it. So first things first, man. I seen this. Look at the Green Bay Packers new logo on their Twitter account, by the way. Is that not just nasty, dude?
Yeah,
Love
baby.
the fact that everything has been kind of rebranded to the the 1923 season, I believe, the first year that they held a stock share, right, or a stock sale, I should say. But
Correct.
Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, man. You've been right there in house. Matthew Golden, as they pointed out here, Green Bay already has a lot of love for this guy, man. It sounds like Matthew Golden he can do no wrong right now, man, and he seems humble, but at the same time, you can tell he just oozes with confidence as well, man. What do you think about Matthew Golden so far?
I think that's a great way of putting it, Clayton. Oozes confidence, not arrogance, right? It's a fine line between, confidence and cockiness, right? And Matt Golden's a humble dude. And that being said, I think it's a great point to bring up because, being the hot new rookie receiver, obviously a fan favorite already, this moment doesn't seem too big for him. This is a guy that is not nervous out there, playing with some good energy, positive vibes, high energy out there. We'll get into the details a little later, but he's progressing pretty nicely so far. Of course, we're only 2 days in, but you got to love the guy's attitude, man, for sure. And then he's backing it up out there on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. As this clip right here comes in from our good buddy Baz over at Basarsky Productions. I'm sure if you're subbed to this little channel, you're subbed over there. Just a good friend of the show, always been a good ally here for us at PTA. As he posted this clip, awesome rep by Packers rookie Matthew Golden here, return route, then drift upfield and find the open zone for a big gain. Also a nice rep from Bo Melton covering up a return route pretty well. So I love that he kind of multitask there. Jacob, what do you think about Matthew Golden, man? It's camp, right? It's early in camp, but boy, oh boy, it seems like it's not too big for him so far. The awkward delay. I think he actually froze this time, didn't he, Tim?
Oh, there it goes. Can you hear us, Jacob?
He is so mad. Jacob, I'm sorry, dude. It's not him either. It's StreamYard. He just looks so angry. Hey, sign off. There you go. I was going to tell him to sign off and sign back on. Jacob looks so mad. I don't mean to laugh, but God, that was hilarious, man. Looked like Nate Hobbs said today, Tim, about to take belt to somebody's ass right there. That was about to happen. So, so pretty cool, man. Another thing you notice in here, too, is that Luke Musgrave running that route off the right side, Tim. It's kind of hard to see. I don't know if you could tell or not.
Yeah.
It looks like he starts outside, so they had him flex. See him, then he cheats in.
Yeah, that's Musgrave.
Yeah. Look at him stretching the field, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we've always known that about him, right? We know he's capable of being a vertical threat, man. Musgrave can stretch the defense. He really can. It's just a matter of, is he progressing to where he needs to be? But he looks good here running that route for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. I'm excited to see how they utilize him, and that's how I want to see them use him, to be honest with you, Tim. Like, Tucker has shown he can play attached. He can play inline. He can also flex out. We showed the missile that Jordan Love hit him down the seam with there against Houston, right? Right. Yeah. What was 61, almost 62 mile an hour fastball there from Jordan Love. Yeah. So we've seen him mainly attach, and I feel like he can block, although PFF says he can't. So I think the blocking's good. I think he's even better as a receiver and a flex and a semi-attached Y. But Musgrave, this is how I want to see them use him, man. I would love to see him flex him out wide and make the defense choose, especially a defense that wants to run man coverage. Are you going to walk a backer out there on him, or are you going to put a safety out there on him, right? That's the big question. We're going to try Jacob here to see if we got any kind of delay. Looked like it might have froze up again. Poor Jacob, man. He rushed home and everything to get on the show, man. I feel bad. We're going to have to email StreamYard or something. It's ridiculous. So might have to change platforms too before it's all said and done. But does that make sense though, Tim? Like I think that's where Musgrave's going to make his hay, is being able to manipulate what the defense can or cannot do in terms of coverage, backer or a safety type thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. He's more of a threat, I believe, as a field stretcher and a receiving tight end. The blocking hopefully improves, right? But we know when it comes down to getting down and dirty in the trenches, we'd rather have Ben Sims and Tuck Norris doing that kind of work, right? So let Musgrave go ahead and stretch the field. I love it.
Hey, Jacob, why don't we try to kill the camera? I see you in the background. Kill your camera, and let's see if it fixes the delay. Maybe that'll help a little bit whenever you hear this. Hell, we might be on the next segment by the time you hear this. Anyway, moving along here. Let's go on to the next shot here from Baz. Really, really cool. This is he says a dime from Jordan Love firing a hole shot to Mecole Hardman between Williams and Hobbs. Really, really like this shot here. It's kind of hard to see, but on the left side, they call it a hole shot, and many people do. When you guys hear me describe like a cover two defense, I tell you there's 3 spots you can attack a cover two defense in a zone look, and that is in the bunker or the base. So you got 2 bunkers, a bunker on each sideline, and that's what they call the hole, right? So you can get it over top the corner but underneath the safety, or you can attack the base down the seam if they're not in a Tampa 2 look. We're going to try to get Jacob in here again. Jacob, let's try it again. Any delay? You good now?
I think for the time being, maybe. Could be good.
All right, cool. Well, you just chime in when you want, man. We'll let it settle in here real quick. But if you want to kill your camera, that may end a little bit of the delay too. I don't know if it will or not, but just disable your camera, and we'll see if that helps you on your end. You just jump in whenever you want. So, yeah, this whole shot here to Mecole Hardman. I was listening to Wildy talking to Brian Balaga a little bit earlier today on the Homer Hour, and he was like, man, Wildy, and I'm just kind of paraphrasing, but he was like, I didn't expect Mecole to come out and be like this big playmaker, this big contributor, right? But boy, oh boy, every step of the way, Tim, OTAs, mini camp, and now training camp, you just keep hearing his name every single day. Obviously, this is a whole shot. You got to be a little bit brave there, too. And let's be honest, Evan Williams kind of pulled up. He didn't want to kill number 6 here, right? Yeah. But it's every year, man, something like this happens. I remember Romeo Dobbs' rookie year it was just like you kept hearing his name over and over and over that camp. And then you come out that fall, and next thing you know, he's one of the top receivers on the team.
Yeah, and it's great to see him building that rapport with Jordan Love, as well as Sean Clifford and Taylor Algersma, for that matter. Building good relationships with our quarterbacks and, putting our secondary to work there. Obviously guys are going to, have to pull up a little bit in these situations. There's no pads on yet, right? We don't want anyone getting hurt. But that being said, man, practices have been really intense these first couple of days. Unlike anything I've seen the last couple of years being there. I think back to last year or the year before on day 1 and 2, it was kind of easier way into things. And, much to Matt LaFleur and this staff's credit, man, he's had these guys out running from the very get-go. And I think it's important to get guys like Mecole Hardman involved in your offense early, and that's going to raise that standard for the younger guys. A lot of these younger guys in the receiving room, they're going to have to fight through a wily veteran like Mecole Hardman to maybe find that last spot on this roster. And, we'll get to the special teams and the return game aspect that he brings to the table as well, I'm sure later on. But it's awesome to see him getting involved. And, he's one of those guys that does make his teammates better, too. You can see it out there if you've watched any bit of practice. he's just a great guy to have in the locker room, and really challenging these guys out there, both sides of the ball. I love it.
Yeah. Caldwell Corner in the house. Good to see you, buddy. He says Mecole been a touchdown / big play machine this whole time. Again, he's just one of those names that keeps popping up every single day. AFAM in the house says Jacob's grandma hogging all the bandwidth. AFAM, he told me that your mama was at his house and she was having a virtual Tupperware party, and that's what's hogging all the bandwidth. I don't know if that's true or not, man. Some of the youngins in the chat said, "What the heck's Tupperware?" Yeah. Well, that's a blast from the past, is it not, Tim? I know.
Can you tell we're 80s babies?
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. Say those Tupperware parties, man. I tell you, they put food on the table.
You know it.
Quite a bit.
And into the refrigerator when you're done, right?
Yeah, exactly. Baz also put this tweet out. Love the fake toss concept. Love finds Wicks across the middle. So we got a Tay Wicks signing here. And obviously, watch Jordan. You're just going to see that fake toss right. Get the backers to bite just enough. Maybe get a spur safety to hesitate just a touch, and then hit Wicks down the stairs. It's going to be a big camp and a big camp preseason and early in the year as well for Tay Wicks, Tim. I mean, they have got the pressure on his backside right now, man, with all these young rookies coming in, and obviously Romeo Doubs trying to prove that he still belongs. And we'll get into that in a second, but what do you think about Wicks here, man? I mean, obviously you catching the football, that's a step in the right direction based off of last year.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can tell there's been an emphasis on the hands. And we were talking about Matthew Golden and his attitude and, the demeanor he brings as a rookie in this situation. I look at Tay Wicks and he's kind of similar. Everybody knows that there's pressure on him, right? The seat is getting warmer in that wide receiver room, and it's crowded. There's a traffic jam in there, and spots are a premium. That being said, I think Tay Wicks has really handled this all very well, and is super calm and collected when he's out there, knows what he's got to do. Clearly hit the jugs machine a little bit and has been working on the hands, which is good. And it's nice to see it translate here, even in day two, walkthroughs like this, just kind of making catches and doing what we need him to do, because that was really the only issue we had with him, right? Was the few errant drops. Pretty much everything else was good. We've seen Tay Wicks block guys to the water cooler before, just like a lot of guys in this receiving room. So if he gets the hands together, oh yeah, we're going to be hyper competitive in this wide receiver room as the weeks roll on here.
Yeah, in his rookie year, I specifically remember he was the yak king on this team. Like yards after catch, Tay Wicks was a monster, and the drops weren't an issue, as much of an issue, I should say. Separation, route running, that's kind of his superpower, and his ability to break tackles, yards after catch. That's what he does well. So I think you're spot on, Tim. You get the hands thing taken care of, and if I'm him, I'm going the Romeo Doubs approach. And you remember he had drops issues that first year, and they said that he was staying after practice, catching 500 balls off the jugs machine. Like, man, do everything you can. We got a chance to meet Tay Wicks' family. We got to meet a couple of his cousins. I want to say it was two cousins, a brother, and his mom. When we were at the Tennessee game, they sat down a few rows in front of us. Salt of the earth people, man. Just unbelievable. I'm rooting for Tay Wicks so hard, man, because not just because his family are just absolute sweethearts, but the dude plays the game the right way. The only thing he's struggling with is the hands last year. And I want to say this too. If you go back and watch it, he cleaned it up in the second half of the season, just like Jayden Reed did. And that kind of gets, brushed under the rug. You always remember the worst performances as opposed to, wow, he may not have put up gaudy numbers, but he did kind of fix the drop issue down the stretch there. So just something to kind of keep your eye on. I remember people specifically talking about, it was like the last 5 or 6 games of the season, his drops, they went down pretty significantly. Packer Up in the chat says, Clayton, is Mecole going to play on the return team, you think, or be exclusive at wide receiver? I would love to see him on the return team. Now, this is Our Lads. If you guys are not familiar, Our Lads is a really cool website. They do a good job of keeping the depth chart somewhat updated based off of what they're seeing in practice and everything. The last update I seen, they actually had Mecole Hardman as the number 1 punt returner and kick returner. Second was Keyshawn Nixon at both, then Jayden Reed behind them. So I don't know, man. I know today, Tim, they struggled fielding punts off the jugs machine, if I remember correctly, right? And I want to say that they said part of the issue, and I think Keyshawn brung it up because there were several of them bobbling the snap, kicking it, or bobbling the catch and kicking it and everything, is because they were lined up too far back. I believe is what they said, and they were having a sprint to the ball. I don't know if that was by design or if maybe it was just a miscalculation on the coaching staff. But I
don't know. It could have been because I saw those first few that came out of there, man. It looked like, missiles. Yeah, so maybe they backed up to kind of adjust, and then they must have tweaked the jugs machine a little bit.
Got it.
But yeah, I saw Matt Golden drop one. I'm not sure who else had a drop on a return. But it could be just, hey, day 2, we're ironing out the new equipment, whatever. And hey, this is when you want guys, it's important to remember, this is when you want our guys to make those mistakes, right?
Yes.
You want a guy muffing a punt in, July and August, not September or October. So, get them out of your system now. And I think it's good to just, push these guys early, and they'll get up to speed here as we progress.
Yeah. So to answer Packer Up's question, if it were up to me, I want Mecole Hardman to be the number 1 returner. I want Jayden Reed to be nowhere near it. I think he's too valuable in the slot. And the reality also is that Mecole Hardman will also be probably plugging in to play a little play a little slot, which is Jayden Reed's position as well. But, man, let him handle that. And when Jayden Reed needs a breather, bring Mecole in. Now, I say that, Packer Up, but also as I say that, we all understand and know as well, Mecole might not even be on the team. We may be sitting here talking about Dontavion Wicks. He may get traded. Romeo Doubs may not be on the team. And that's something that was mentioned by Wildy earlier. It was almost like if he had to guess if there was a player that was going to get traded, because they do like to flip guys at the end of camp, right? They'll like to flip a guy for a pick real quick if you're going to cut them anyway. I don't see Romeo Doubs being a potential cut. I could see it being a scenario, though, where maybe the value is so good there at a draft pick that's offered to you, and you're not going to re-sign him. Why not go ahead and pick up that pick? But yeah. I'll tell you, man, I think you will notice it too if Romeo Doubs isn't on this team, because he's got some of the best hands on the team. We got Jacob back with us here. Jacob, what do you think about what Packer Up asked here? Is Mecole going to play on the return team? You think it'll be exclusive at wide receiver? I would love to see Hardman be our number 1 returner. What do you think, man?
Yeah, hopefully you can hear me now. I had to go strangle the hamster on the wheel. I think it's going to be predominantly that he will start as a return guy. And I think that, though, depending on how this offseason shapes out, he's been showing more and more that he is a big play type of threat. And obviously that's a crowded wide receiver room. But I just think that Matt LaFleur, if he recognizes that he has some sort of weapon, he's going to use that weapon. It might not be every single play. It might not even be every single game. But I think that he will start to scheme up certain plays, certain schemes, certain situations where Mecole Hardman could be a very big factor into this offense.
I feel like Packer Up's question kind of answers it for me. I think if Mecole Hardman's on this team, he's on this team as a receiver and a return guy. I don't think he's going to be an exclusive in either category. I don't think we have enough room on this roster. And you talked about Jayden Reed being valuable, obviously, on the offensive side of the ball. One could make the argument that I don't want to see Keyshawn Nixon returning kicks, because at this point in the corner room, he's too valuable as a corner. So if Mecole Hardman can help us in the return game, I say bring it on.
I think it's a very good point, Tim. Holmes MD1 says Williams took punt return today as well. Kraft was taking kick return. LOL. I seen that too. That Kraft fielded 1 or 2 off kick return. Oh, yeah. Well, I'd hate to be one of those gunners coming down the field at the hit 85, returning the kick with a full head of steam. That'd be hilarious. But what he said here with Savion Williams, that might end up being the guy. You never know. We may look up at the end of camp and be like, holy cow, Savion Williams just took this. Another player that they compared him to, if I remember correctly, was Cordero Patterson. You guys remember when he was in Minnesota? Hated that guy. Absolutely hated that dude, because it wasn't nothing for him to house one. So
I think there's a lot of guys that with return talent, especially in the receiving room. I got to meet Will Shepard this morning. Super cool dude. Got to see him on his way into practice. That's a name that comes to mind. A guy fighting for a practice squad place. Special teams is a way for you to play yourself onto a team.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So I thought this tweet from Wes Heikowitz was awesome. Love is getting guys biting on the hard count today. Now Cooper jumps on an A-gap blitz. Two parts of there, right? They got Coop back in there, and we'll talk about him when we get to the defensive side of the ball, but they got him mugging that A-gap again, right? And you put on an extra 20 pounds. That ain't the play coverage linebacker. That's to get in there with the hog mollies to smack somebody in the mouth, right? But the fact that Jordan Love, Jacob, is continuing to use that hard count that he learned from Aaron Rodgers and probably get even closer to perfecting it. His first year as a starter in 2023 surprised the heck out of me. I didn't expect him to be as effective with it that early. And then obviously the injuries last year kind of throws a wrinkle into everything. It's probably the last thing on your mind is trying to get them to jump on a hard count. Would be really, really beneficial if Jordan can break that out of the tool bag this year, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we always talk about the the tendencies and some of like the traits, the details that Favre passes down to Rodgers, who passes down to Love. And a lot of times that's kind of just, you can roll your eyes at it a little bit. They obviously develop a little bit of footwork, similar like handoffs, play fakes, that sort of stuff. But I think the one that is absolutely clear and obvious is that Favre passed down that hard count to Rodgers. Rodgers passed down that hard count to Love. That is almost, even some of the same, what is it? Blue
80.
Blue 80. Yeah. And just
Blue,
all that.
I remember Blue 58 was my
Blue 58. Yep.
It'd say Blue 58, and as he said, set hut, the ball was already being snapped. So it was like that was a mock part of it. But yeah, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's what I wanted. And I just really do think that is an intangible thing that you can actually, or that is a tangible thing that you can really see that, like, yeah, it got passed down through the 3 generations, 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, 1 to be determined. Right. And it's nice because
I would argue that Aaron perfected the cadence aspect, though.
Yeah.
I think Aaron was the master of the cadence. Right.
Yep. I agree with that. Favre used to just kind of gutturally scream, and he'd get him. He'd get him a lot. It's great. It's fun to watch.
Well, speaking of Hall of Famers, since you just mentioned a future Hall of Famer and one that's already in first ballot, we got to mention Travis Glover here. Travis Glover has replaced Aaron Banks at left guard the last couple team periods. Unclear if it's injury related. So Matt Schneidman had tweeted that out. I'm just glad
Emilio when you need him.
I'm glad he's back home in New York, because we would not be hearing the end of this. He would be 123.5% convinced that Travis Glover's the backup left guard right now.
Heard it from a fan right here.
And again, it sounds like they are letting Sean Ryan take the majority of the snaps at center. Everybody's kind of coming around to the whole Elgton Jenkins situation here, Tim. Based on all the experts that I heard today, it was really lockstep with what we said last night. That sounds like the Packers are dug in. They're not going to budge on that contract, and Elgton Jenkins is just going to have to play under the current contract. Now, hopefully there's no ill will there. And maybe it was something that he realized, okay, they're not going to give me a bump here. So can we do something to save a little face? Yeah, my back's a little tight. All right, let's sit you out for a few days and get you back in there when the back is healthy. I don't know what you heard, if you heard anything around practice facility today, but it kind of feels like that whole steam of Elgton getting a little more guaranteed money is really starting to fizzle out.
Yeah, I can't really speak to anything that I've heard. I can just tell you what I saw with my own 2 eyes, just kind of watching. I got a little treat. We had the offense running on the south end zone, normally where the defense is and where I'm camped out. So got to see some 2-minute drill with the ones today, and a little bit of the offense doing some work. And what I observed was Elgton Jenkins was in the front of the line everywhere that the offense was. So he was engaged. He was moving around. I think there could be some truth to what you're thinking here, Clay, that, maybe by this weekend, I think we've got off on Saturday and then a couple practices in a row, Sunday and Monday. Hopefully as we get into, week 2 here of training camp, maybe Big E's back out there with a helmet on and running through some drills.
Yeah, for sure. This one came in from our very own Tim here, Jacob. Got us a little 2-minute drill clip to play in the background. But what do you think about if I think Elgton's going to be fine. He's going to be your starting center, right? I think Jordan Morgan, they want him to win that right guard spot if he stays healthy. Jacob, do you see that offensive line any different, or is it pretty straightforward? I mean, it sounds like it's going to be Rasheed Walker, which, by the way, his answers when they asked him about his potential contract, do you think it's fair? Blah, blah, blah. Boy, he handled it perfect. What am I going to do? There ain't nothing I can do. Go out there and play and earn the next contract, right? Love the way he stood on that for sure. But what do you think about the offensive line, Jacob? Anything else stick out to you other than Rasheed Walker, Aaron Banks, Elgton Jenkins, Jordan Morgan, and then, of course, Zach Tom with that new contract? Or would you like to see someone else maybe start?
I mean, let's talk about Travis Glover. No, I'm kidding. What I honestly think, I really like what Holmes said here when we were talking about whether or not they're going to give Elton that new money, and if he was, for whatever reason causing a stink, which I don't think that's the case. But I really liked what he said. He said the Packers cannot set that precedent, which would basically is, if I'm understanding Holmes right, it's that when a player starts stomping and I'm not saying Elton's doing this, but if a player were to start stomping and kind of gripe into the media, maybe making a little bit of a drama to try to get himself in quote unquote a better position to make more money, that's something that the Packers front office has rarely ever bought into, if ever, and I just don't think it's a good look. I'm glad that they decided that even Elton Jenkins isn't above that precedent, and they don't want to break that. So I really agree with that. It is starting to trouble me a little bit that we've spent very high draft capital on two guys that we're not quite sure where they're going to play or if they're going to play on that line at all. I think if you listen to Ryan's podcast this morning, he maybe did highlight a little bit of that frustration as well, or just maybe more confusion, I think is the case right now. But we have to remember it's very early in this process, right? And the Packers tend to do weird stuff like this, like starting guys at random spots, just trying to see if there's a good fit, if there's just any sort of crazy progression, whatever the case may be for the reason that they do this. By the time the season starts, it seems like the dust always settles and we get ourselves the best five. That's all I care about. I don't care about contract structure, whether or not you're a first rounder, a second rounder, a UDFA. I want the best five that are going to protect Jordan Love and, move those hog mollies so that Josh Jacobs can absolutely just smash.
Yeah, speaking of hog mollies, look at this face.
Hey.
All right. So our good buddy Eli.
I'm never eating dinner before the podcast.
Exactly.
Liver and onions.
And by the way, rest in peace to the Hulkster. I know we showed this the other day, and obviously everybody heard he had passed on. But man, yeah, that's a guy. Listen, I understand he's a polarizing figure. Some people you either love him or you hate him. I know this, man. Growing up in the '80s, boy oh boy, was he everywhere, baby. He was everywhere. So Eli Berkovitz, speaking of the Hulkster, Eli Berkovitz here said Matt LaFleur was asked how he'll keep all of his pass catchers happy. Quote, winning.
That's I love it. That's great Tupac LaFleur answer right there, baby. You got to love it.
And I think it's so important. That's how he's looking at it. It's like he's not going to hear anything about this guy's not getting enough touches, that guy's not getting enough touches. If indeed that was what happened with Romeo Doubs last year and there was a complaint about his role, what did Matt do? All right, cool, you're suspended. Like, we ain't going to hear it. Right. And hopefully it wasn't as brash as that, but Matt's not playing games here, man. It's just like what you were just saying with the offensive line, Jacob. I personally don't think it's confusing at all. And I haven't heard Ryan's pod on that, but you guys are not in the minority there. I think I'm in the minority. I look at the offensive line and go, you got these guys under contract for, 2-3 more years now. The rookies, a 4-year contract. Why not go ahead and use up the guys that are your starters, right? Like if it's neck and neck, Jordan Morgan, Sean Ryan, give me Jordan Morgan. I want him to be able to get the experience and continue to ascend, right? But if Sean Ryan's a little bit better than Jordan Morgan, I have no problem, even though he's a first-round pick, sitting on the bench and letting Sean Ryan take those number one reps. That's just me personally. And the reason being is, like, I know most organizations, and the Packers probably don't truly see this, although they talk about it all the time. Once you're drafted, everybody's got a clean slate. Now, I know people roll their eyes. I truly see it that way. I want the best 11 on the freaking field. I don't care if they were a first-round pick, golden bonus baby, or if they were undrafted. Imagine if we'd approached it that way with Tramon Williams back in the day. He's not getting that pick six in Atlanta and setting the tone right before halftime in that playoff game to propel us all that momentum going throughout the playoffs, winning the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really look at the draft pick as much, other than if we're trying to predict the roster, boy, there's precedent for it. As Mark Tauscher always says, who, by the way, was a 7th-round pick out of Wisconsin. He said 7th-round picks have to constantly prove they belong. First-round picks have to constantly prove they don't belong. And it's so true. It really is. It's just like Isaiah Simmons, who's on the roster now, right? If he was so bad as everybody said he was at the other stops, why is he still in the league? He's a number 8 overall pick, They've seen that upside for sure. But I love this quote right here. You guys got anything to add to that? I love where Matt's headspace is here on the receivers.
I mean, I think it goes really well just with this mentality. Like, Tim, I believe, was it you that mentioned that today in the text thread that it seems like they're not messing around at this time of year, that they're all ball, and that it's not like they're not letting them kind of dip their toe in. They're saying, jump in, boys, because we're going and we're strapping up and we're playing for a championship. Does that kind of fit what you're seeing out there?
That's the attitude. It was kind of surprising to me yesterday being out there. Because like I said, I've been blessed the last 2 seasons in a row to be able to attend pretty much every single training camp practice that's open to the public. And the past couple of years, the vibe was totally different compared to what I've seen in the last 48 hours over there. And that's from staff to the players to everybody involved. You've got veterans that are demanding a lot from the rookies and the young guys. You've got coaches that are running everybody hard right out of the gate. We can talk about there's no pads and all this. Yeah, that's true. We're not going, full contact or anything, but these guys are going close to full speed, and they're working up a sweat, and they're getting right to work. There is no effing around this year at all.
No. Ed Madden in the chat said, if Sean Ryan's willing to take $8 to $10 million average annual value next year, would you re-sign him? I would not. And the reason being is you're kind of projecting the offensive line out right now. Now, hear me out on this. I was thinking about this earlier today. I was listening to Wilde and Tausch, and they were talking about the offensive line and how it's going to shake out, and specifically Rasheed Walker. It's obvious now, and unless something drastically changes, the Packers are not going to give Elgton Jenkins that extra guaranteed money, right? We've kind of talked about that ad nauseum. If that plays out that way, we talked about Elgton Jenkins' contract structure, they're looking to lower that cap number next year or possibly move on. I mean, the reality is his cap hit next year is $24.8 million, okay? The dead cap attached is only $4.8 million. So you could free up $20 million in cap space. What if their plan is actually to go into this season, let Jordan Morgan compete in training camp with Rasheed Walker at left tackle? If Rasheed Walker beats him out for left tackle and they push through this season, you got Jordan Morgan who can play right guard, and then you got Anthony Belton, an offensive tackle that you drafted in the second round, right? What if the plan is play Elgton at center this year? This is cold-blooded in my best Chappelle show version of Rick James. All right, cold-blooded. So imagine if the plan is let Elgton play center this year, right, from left to right. Rasheed Walker, Aaron Banks, Elgton Jenkins, Jordan Morgan, Zach Tom, Anthony Belton, your swing tackle, Sean Ryan, your swing guard. And let's say it's an audition for Rasheed Walker to make top money. Well, we talked about you're not going to pay more than three offensive linemen top money. That's why it's like Rasheed Walker's the odd man out because of Elgton Jenkins. What if you did move on from Elgton Jenkins after this year? You free up $20 million in cap. You take a chunk of that and pay Rasheed Walker $17 to $18 million per. You got a younger guy on the blind side of Jordan Love, locked up long term, and now your top 3 offensive linemen paid are Rasheed Walker, Aaron Banks, and Zach Tom. And now what you've got is who's going to play center. Remember what was said last year, that Zach Tom was they said he was a Pro Bowl tackle, an all-pro guard, and a Hall of Fame center is what they thought they had in Zach Tom. What if that's the plan? What if the plan is to kick Zach Tom into center, right, and let Anthony Belton take over at tackle, or Jordan Morgan, whichever one seems fit, and either Anthony Belton will go to guard or play tackle, vice versa, and then you lock up Rasheed Walker. I just thought of that earlier today, and I know we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility, especially if Rasheed Walker goes out this year and he just dominates at left tackle. What if he improves the run blocking and he puts himself on the same level as Zach Tom? Because the only thing missing between the two, the only difference between those two players is Zach Tom is as good or better a run blocker as he is a pass blocker, but he's already considered a block. What's your all's take on that? Jacob, what do you think about that?
I mean, I like that idea. To me, that would make me feel a lot better about the depth and the draft capital that we did spend on Belton and Morgan. Honestly, that to me, would be that epitome of having the top 5, the best 5 out there. So, that's what Joseph is saying here. I think that we'll likely move off of Elgton next season if we were to make that switch. So that'd be a little interesting there. But what do you think, Tim?
He also, Tim, he went on to say, Joseph did, he said that would explain why we didn't draft a center this past draft, which was heavy in positional value there. And I think we would agree with the way our draft board looked. We were expecting the old cowboy from, what was it, Arkansas State or whatever? Joe, was it Jacob Bayer? Am I thinking right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. So anyway, what do you think about that, Tim?
I think we still haven't recovered from the missing out on Creed Humphrey, right? I mean, obviously, so maybe the plan has changed, and I think there's some validity to your point. You know, why not have Big E hold it down this year? That way you're not studying any growth at your guard positions. You've got Zach Tom, who can play anywhere on that offensive line, might even be able to line up at tight end if we needed him to. I mean, guy's one of the best offensive players on our team. So I think there's, you know, you got a legitimate point there, Clay. You know, I will say this, you know, regardless of what the plan is, maybe the plan is to see how camp goes. And to see, you know, who's going to identify themselves as that potential, you know, backup center, at least to Big E this year, until we can get eventually, you know, a guy like Zach Tom to settle in at that spot. Maybe that's why we gave him the bag, right?
Yeah. Blake B says in the chat, would that explain why Tom didn't get number one in the league right tackle money? That crossed my mind too. His centers get paid quite a bit less than tackles. And I was expecting Zach Tom. You guys remember I was talking about $25 million. I pay him $25 million per. And when you
is that why he took the sweetheart deal, the team friendly deal? Because he figured out they're paying me like a center. I'm going to be a center next year. So
yeah, and we're just simply speculating. We have no inside information, obviously, but that might make sense. I don't know. Time will tell for sure. I love the way the chat's thinking here tonight. I appreciate y'all bringing this up. Ivan in the chat says Zach Tom said yesterday he does not want to play center. He only wanted to play right tackle. I did not hear that. That's important information. I didn't hear that in his presser. So appreciate that info there, Ivan. You the man. All right, let's move it along to the defensive side of the ball. Unless you guys got anything else for offense, anything at all y'all want to hit on offense before we move on? Good. All right, let's move on to defense. And this one came in from our buddy Tim. Really cool shot here, as you can see. Our boy Rashawn Gary. I better mute it because you know there's going to be language, but love one-on-one time here. Coach DeMarcus Covington working with Rashawn Gary as a special teams group works on punts in the background. This is awesome, Tim. It's a great shot. As you can see, Coach Covington working with Rashawn Gary. This is what you hired him for, man. You got a guy who's got defensive coordinator experience. He also worked under Bill Belichick for, I want to say, damn near a decade. He was a receiver in college and worked his way up through several position groups, and he settled in as a defensive assistant in New England. And they had some darn good defenses while he was an assistant on that staff. So love to see him working with Gary, man. This is a great grab here. Tim, did you pick up anything? Just being that close to him. Obviously, don't give out the secret recipe here, but what did it feel like there?
Just the dynamic between Rashawn and Coach Covington stood out to me right away. You can tell they've got a good connection and a good rapport, which is good because, you know, Coach Covington is new. This is his first year with us. You know, Rashawn's been here for a while. It almost makes me kind of think that maybe he pulled Rashawn to the side, you know, during mini camp or OTAs or something and said, hey, you're my guy. I need you to be a leader. I need you to step up. And I think he's kind of taken him under his wing. This is 2 days in a row that I've seen him pulling just Rashawn and Rashawn alone off to the side to just work on some stuff. This could also, you know, not to speculate while speculating, this could lend some credit to your theory that perhaps a guy like Rashawn or LVN gets kicked inside from time to time this year. And they're trying to mix things up. So, you know, maybe Coach Covington's working with him on just some different technique and stuff like that. But I have seen a lot of one-on-one time these past couple of days with those two.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that because you shared this clip too.
Yeah.
And notice
this is my favorite thing I shot all day right here.
Notice the second rep. I'm going to try to go full screen if I can. All right. Notice the second rep, Jacob. See if you see who lines up with who right here. Not this one, but the next one as they're getting the dummy set up. All right, we're good. Look at the two guys that line up together right here. Kenny Clark and Rashawn Gary. Yep. And that's Gary on his other shoulder there. Tim, as you were talking, part of me is just like, I'm telling you, last year, guys, Gary, I think he had 26 or 27 snaps at 3-tech. Okay. So they kicked him inside a little bit. And there were people that was kind of making fun of NFL Network because on the top 100, they had him listed as a defensive tackle. They said defensive tackle. And they said he moved to defensive tackle. And everybody's laughing. I'm going, actually guys that trended a little more in that direction than it has in the past. Now, you went from a 34 to a 4-3, so it's going to be a little more natural as opposed to going from outside linebacker pass rusher in a 34 jam front to a 4-3 defensive end where you're playing more 4-tech and 4-eye from time to time. If you're
Remember, we've heard Coach Covington say we want to mix in some 3-4 looks, right?
Yep.
So could that be part of the plan too? They mix in that 34 look with Rashaan and that tech?
That was what they did in New England. Mm-hmm. If I had to put money on it, Tim, I would say we're not going to play any 34 or very minimal 34. But in New England, that's what Bill Belichick did for so long, is what they called a multiple hybrid front. They would go from a 4-3 to a 3-4 constantly. But Jacob, what do you think about that thought, man? Do you think there's a chance that Gary ends up inside next to Kenny from time to time? I mean, maybe that 26 snaps at defensive tackle for Rashaan Gary last year, maybe it jumps to 40 or 50. What do you think, man?
Honestly, I don't. I think that if there was going to be an edge / defensive end player that was going to move a little more inside, I would push more towards LVN getting those snaps just because of his overall stature and the pure power that he seems to have. I do think that it's not going to be, man, Stackhouse is big. I just seeing him run past. He's a big dude. I think it'd be interesting. I like the fact that they had him have, that 20 plus reps in there. I hope that they replicate that again. I just do think that a guy like LVN is just a little more fits the bill in that role a little bit better, but we don't need to go back to the other video, but I was going to ask before we switched, what do you think they're working on there? That was Covington trying to show him how to like stop maybe like a chop block, or maybe just like guys that are blocking in the wash? Is he trying to just take them on before they get to his knees, before they just make first contact and back off? You know what I'm saying? Because it looked like they were
weird,
almost
right?
trying to.
He threw that foam at him and he smacked it down low to the ground, right, and then shed it off. Coach Lynn, of course, I've already got the clip closed out, but maybe Coach Lynn, if he did see it, he would have a better idea of what that was. I think that's as good an answer as I have, Jacob, is maybe looking to defend that chop block a little bit,
Yeah.
But, so Coach Lynn said, "What's up, fellas? Sorry I'm late." Coach, see, when you're not in here, dude, the whole damn thing falls apart, bud. Appreciate you. Jeez, nah, welcome in, man. Appreciate you swinging through.
Make sure you guys go to the Patreon too if you want to see this exact video full in its unedited form, and you can hear Rashaan Gary's vocal leadership on full display. Make sure you check us out on Patreon. It's up there.
Put the kids to bed, though, right, Tim? You never know
That's
what
right.
you might hear.
That's right. There's some choice language in there. It's grown men working,
Yeah, Jacob, I'm sorry I don't have a better answer for you there, though, man, because I was thinking the same thing. It's like, what is that? What are they actually working on there? So anyway, but yeah, so you're right, though, man. Listen, we got some big old boys on that defensive front. And Brenton Cox Jr. right now, he's the one closest right here to the screen, right? Dude, he looks like he's thickened up again. I'm telling you, man, this is the year I think Brenton Cox Jr. passes up Kingsley Enagbare, me personally. And I'd hate to see it, but if one of those top edge rushers go down and they miss significant time during the year, I feel pretty darn good about Brenton Cox Jr. stepping in there and playing ball, man. I really do. So Deadfish says on 3rd and long, I'm looking for LVN and Gary inside, Cox and Sorrell on the outside or something like that. If Kenny plays at the level he did last year, Deadfish, and we then know, okay, it wasn't the foot injury. He's just kind of coming down the stretch here, getting, over 30 years old now, and him playing over 10 years in the league, coming in the league so young, I would be okay with that. But if Kenny can return to kind of old Kenny form, I would much rather see it be Kenny Clark in the middle, right? LVN and Brenton Cox Jr. on the outside, and then maybe Gary lining up with Kenny. I would rather see that rather than LVN and Gary in the middle and take Kenny off the field. But again, time will tell if Father Time is catching up with Kenny. I know this, Tim, you have mentioned this in the tweet. Edgerrin Cooper out there working with the edge defenders too, right? Cool, man.
Yeah.
You seen him line up. So they actually had him doing some pass rush drills here. Is that what it was?
I caught it just on my way out of the stands because I rarely sit in the stands at Ray Nitschke Field. I'm usually by that fence that you guys see in the background, trying to get some of those shots that you were seeing. But I caught this out of the corner of my eye when I was stepping out of the bleachers. I said, "Oh, look at here."